a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jar Oil. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jar Oil introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jar Oil also target to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.
Coming up to 6 minutes past the hour. After 2 weeks away from coffee time with Peter Gomez, and he'll have to give me a reason for that, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, is back on the program. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you for having me. It's been a while.
I like your phone. Can we exchange phones?
Of course we can. You know, whatever you want from me, you'll get it, Peter. Whatever Peter wants, Peter gets.
Welcome back. 2 weeks.
Yes.
I never thought I'd sit and say, well, I miss Doctor.
Well, I've missed the program as well. I've missed you as well. I think the past 2 weeks, I think we had the IGP of Police.
Yes, we
first
did.
week, and we had the Minister of Justice. So I had to make way for those very important, high-profile.
And what did you think about, the conversation with the IGP? Because I remember the issue of security came up here, and you denied that the Gambia was any more insecure than countries in the sub-region. And of course, you cited the example of America,
yes,
where killings, according to you, were happening every time.
I still maintain that relatively Gambia is secure, a stable democracy. Yes, we have our challenges in terms of security here and then. But, I mean, if you look at most of the crimes, apart from the 2 armed robbers that took place in Farafenni and here in Brusubi, the other killings were homicides. And homicides, I mean, no country, no policing policy, no policing operational procedure can really stop homicides because these things happen within family members. These things happen between people who know each other, and very little can be done. But by and large, based on data and based on we live in this country, yes, Gambia is relatively secure and stable. It's not a crime-free society, and no country in the world is crime-free. Even the most advanced democracies that invest billions and if not trillions of dollars in policing, they are even not crime-free. Yes, it's a challenge that the police has to contend with, and I think we commend the police for a very good job, because what is important is that policing entails 2 aspects. Either you prevent crime or you solve crime, and in most cases, they solve the crime and on top of the game. And current seizures of drugs in this country shows that the league is also on top of the game. Because now, if they were not working, they would not have done these massive seizures. But they're doing a lot of seizures. It means that they're also on top of their game. So we commend the security outfit for doing a very good job. And I think, by and large, by all indications, Gambia is a very peaceful and secure democracy.
You talk about homicide. There are any number of reasons for homicide, one of which is, an excruciating cost of living. And, of course, Gambians are complaining about cost of living. Could it be that people are just frustrated that, especially, house heads, they wake up in the morning, they cannot provide breakfast for the family. They go through the day, they cannot provide lunch. Evening time, still no meals to provide for the family. Is that driving people to be violent?
Well, there's no empirical evidence to suggest that. I think what needs to be done is a proper comprehensive study to find out what has led to the increment in homicides recently. I think that will give us the scientific evidence to suggest that. For now, there is no evidence. All this is anecdotal evidence. The reason why, we'll just be guessing. And most of the homicides that took place recently, one of them, I think, is between a brother and a sister fighting over a knife. An accident happens. Some of these are accidents that happen. But we've not seen a systematic trend where we can say it's because of the cost of living crisis. Yes, I agree. Sometimes when there is economic and social stress, it can lead to an increment in murder cases or homicide cases. For example, when during the structural adjustment program in most African countries in the 70s, 80s, it led to an increment in joblessness, unemployment, because countries were forced to remove their investments in subsidies, in subsidized industries. So because of a lot of people lost their jobs, we saw increment in homicide, in abuse at the home, and so on and so forth. But for now, I don't think we found ourselves in that situation where we can make a conclusion that it's because of the cost of living that we've seen an increment in that. I mean, it goes on and off. We've seen periods where about for almost 3-4 months we have not had any serious major issue. All of a sudden, within 1 week, we've seen 3 homicides. So it's not a trend that we see. It's an upward trend if you look at it that way to suggest that. But for now, I don't think that is the case. I think some of these are accidents. They are bound to happen, and they happen, and the police solves it, and then we move as a society.
Mm-hmm. And coming back to the issue of the drug seizures, yes, seizures indicate that, a system is working. But why would, traffickers target the Gambia? Does that not suggest that, they also realize there are structural weaknesses they can exploit? Because we've just seized the biggest, catch of ecstasy
yes,
in the whole sub-region.
That's correct.
That should be concerning.
What I'm also saying is that recently Senegal also, I think, had the biggest seizure of, I think, was cocaine or something like that. The sub-region is having this challenge. From the Sahel down towards Senegal, Gambia, Bissau, they're always having this challenge. But even in the U.S., recently Trump is using tariffs as a foreign policy tool. That is why yesterday the Mexican president said we are going to send 10,000 troops to the Mexican border to stop the flow of drugs into that country. So it's a global problem, and Gambia, being Gambia, with the resources we invest,
that is immigration. That's got nothing to do with drugs.
No, of course, it's
although
drugs as well.
Although drugs can be part of it.
No, but Trump mentioned 2 things: is human, and I think it's amphetamine. There's one particular drug that is always passing the border. So it's also drugs is also part of it. It's not only
yes.
Exactly. So it's not only drugs. So it's not only human smuggling, but also drug is a problem in that part of the. Because that is why.
Trump's thinking is if you stop them from coming in, you stop them with their drugs from crossing the border.
It shows that drugs is a problem, because Trump now is accusing the Mexican government of siding with this big drug cartel. So drug is a global problem. Every country contends with that problem. Now, how you solve the procedures and strategies you put in place to solve this problem is what is important. I think by and large, the Gambia government is doing a very good job through dealing that we are having these seizures. If the system wasn't working, there'll be no seizures. It shows that we are doing a very good job and we're on top of the game. Yes, I know that drug cartels and people who are criminals like to exploit system they deem to have weaknesses. But in this case, I don't see weakness here. I think there's a robust policing regime in place in the Gambia. That is why we're able to do all these massive seizures. And that will send a signal now to all those who plan to use Gambia as a transit route for drugs to know that no, Gambians are awake and the police are working, and operations in terms of drug seizures is working as well.
And what do you make of, a magistrate standing trial for, drug-related charges? And even D-League stands accused of tampering with seized drugs.
Well, it's unfortunate that such things will happen. It's unfortunate, but this is human nature. I mean, there are people who can go rogue in any system, and that happens everywhere. And these are rogue elements in the system. And I think what is important is they've been bust and they'll be weeded out, and nobody will be spared. This government is serious in fighting corruption. This government is serious in fighting crime at every level, and nobody is a sacred cow here. So if a magistrate can be dismissed and put on trial for drugs, it means that the government means business and nobody is spared, not anybody. So I think it's two things here. It shows government's resolve and commitment to fight crime at every level, and nobody is a sacred cow. But also it shows how rogue elements can infiltrate any system. People who you trust can infiltrate the system and just abuse the system. It's unfortunate.
On the issue of nobody being treated as a sacred cow, a lot of people would feel that Abasanyang, the dismissed, disgraced former Minister of Lands, is being treated as a sacred cow because his trial, we understand, not only is it, stalling, we hear it's being held in camera. The media is not allowed in. When the media is let into all other cases, what's the reasoning behind that? Why should Abba Sanyang not be tried in the open like everybody else is?
I can't comment on that. I've not got any information as to that effect. I'm just hearing that the trial has been held on camera. There could be a reason for that. I mean, obviously, I know that
What could be a reason for that?
I mean, it could be any reason. It could be for security reasons. It could be for it could be
security
for any
reason. Is he on the 24-hour security
Like I
watch?
said, I'm not sure. What I'm saying, generally speaking, when trials are held in camera, sometimes when special discretions are given into that effect, it could be one of the reasons. Could be for this particular case. I don't know the reasons why. I'll have to find out why. I'm not even aware that it's held in camera. What I know is that I can confirm to the public is that His Excellency the President is not joking when it comes to fighting graft, fighting crime, and fighting corruption in this country.
You hold it in public. The guy should guy should be shamed.
Like I say, I don't know why. I'll find out why. There should be a reason why. I don't know what that reason is.
When he was sacked, we were told in no uncertain terms by the announcement that it's related to corruption charges when he was governor of is it what URR or CRR?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Like I said, I don't know the reasons why. I don't know the reasons.
So why give him special treatment?
I'll have to find out why that is the case.
If I fell foul of the government, I mean, the government will be happy to put me on trial and invite all the cameras, to shame me. And,
well, I think those decisions are not the decision of State House. It's the decision of the judge or the magistrate in question. It's the decision of the judiciary. So for us, we need to find out why that is the case. Like I said, the way government works, everybody has their sphere of responsibility. When it comes to certain decisions, we normally blame government to say it's the government, but remember, because of the separation of powers.
The government is in charge of the entire system.
No, but there is clear separation of powers. The National Assembly can decide to do their proceedings based on how they deem it fit, and without central government the executive interfering in it. Judiciary can also decide to, do their proceedings as they deem fit based on the circumstances without the executive interfering. That is the whole purpose of the separation of powers. So, I mean, obviously we cannot hold the executive responsible for decisions made at the judiciary level and vice versa.
All right, the third term debate is raging and getting hotter and hotter. The Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, calling on the president not to go ahead with his declared intention in that interview on QTV. Demba Ali Jao, D.A. Jao, Alaji Barrow, all these people thinking it's a bad idea for the president to seek re-election in 2026. What does Ismaila Ceesay, as Minister of Information, Media and Broadcasting Services, think?
Well, you've just named 4 people, and by the way, the Edward Francis Small, whatever, I can't even remember the name, it's a one-man entity, so it doesn't matter what he thinks or he doesn't think. That is not important. Demba Jao has a right to express his opinion. He's a citizen of this country, same as Barrow and the same as anyone else, but millions of Gambians don't have that issue. I'm not talking about that. What they are talking about is that the law permits President Barrow to contest if he so wishes. And anybody who wants to stop that, you are going against the law, and that can be termed as insurrection. You cannot accept a country where there is lawlessness. The president has a right to contest. No law stops him, except that is the case, yes. But as long as the law accepts him to contest, he can contest if he so wishes, and nobody can stop it. I mean, people have a right to sound their opinion. What they can do is everybody has one vote. If they are not happy with the way he's running the country, let them wait until elections and let them go and vote against him. That is the best they can do, but they cannot stop him from running if the laws allow him to run. So you can voice your opinion to say, I don't want him to run for a 3rd term, but you cannot stop it, and nobody can stop it. and I'm going to emphasize that here today, nobody can stop His Excellency the President from going for a third term if he so wishes. What you can do, the only power they have is their vote, and it's not to vote for him. But anything else, they have no powers. And let me repeat, the Edward Francis Small, I can't even remember the name.
Edward Francis Small Center for Rights
Don't even call it a center.
And Justice.
Just call it Edward Francis Small Individual for Right and Justice. An individual who runs it.
But that's not fair. It's registered as a center.
Oh, please. It's a one-man show. That's it. It's a one-man entity.
Yeah, but it is a center. Now,
anybody can register something.
Now, I don't just stop us calling you Minister Information. I call you Minister of what? Information, Media, and Broadcasting Services, because that's your official title. So the center is a center, Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice.
It's a one-man show, an individual. Call it Edward Francis Small Individual for Rights and Justice.
You might find yourself, being defended by him one day soon,
Well, that's up to him to do that. What I'm saying is that he doesn't own this country and he cannot dictate.
He never claimed to own this country.
No, what I'm saying is that it's his opinion to say he shouldn't run. Let him keep his voter's card and wait until election day and vote against him if he so wishes. But nobody can stop the president from running for a third term if he so wishes. Because the law allows him.
If you were still, political science lecturer at the UTG, and this issue came up, and your student said to you, Dr. Ceesay, help enlighten us on this issue. What's your standpoint?
Well, if I'm speaking on law, only on point of law, I'll make the same argument. The president has a right to contest. When it comes to my own subjective views on what I think, these are subjective views. That has no bearing on what happens. What I'm saying is that I'm speaking on point of law. I'm not speaking on subjective issue as Dr. Ismail Ceesay what he thinks as an individual. That's my opinion. What I can say on point of law, the president has a right and has a legal mandate to contest again. That is the point. That is clear. Everybody agrees. Even a child born today knows that. That is what is happening. So anymore, nobody can stop that. Now, it's up to the president to decide whether he wants to run or not. Now, as a citizen, I have my opinion. I have two things: my opinion and my voter's card. My vote. I can express my opinion to say, well, I don't want the president to run for a third term for clear reasons known to me. But if he so wishes to do so, and the law allows him to do that, I will allow him to run. And then if I'm not happy with the way he governs this country, I'll go and vote against him. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so you are encouraging those who are not happy with his seeking a third term to vote against him.
But if you don't want him to run
for a third term... Can you answer the question first?
No, what I'm saying is that if you don't want the president to run for a third term, clearly you have a reason why you don't want that to happen. But you cannot stop it from happening. If you're not happy with that, you have your vote. Decide on the voters' day, on election day, how you want to vote.
So that's what you are encouraging people who do not support his third term bid to do.
What I'm saying that every citizen has their vote. And on election day, you decide who you vote for. That if you're not happy with the way he governs, you go to the polling station, you decide how you want to vote. If you don't want to vote for him, you don't want to vote for him. But you cannot stop him from running. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm trying to make clear.
We'll come back to the issue of government and governance. When is the CA holding its Congress?
End of April.
End of April?
Yes.
Okay. How many people do you think will be in the hall?
That's a hypothetical question, and I'm here as Information Minister, not as CA leader, so I would rather we stick our conversation as Information Minister and talk about the government. I think recently there has been a massive increment in salaries, and we've seen a change in people's bank accounts, particularly civil servants at the lower end of the spectrum, particularly those with grade 1, 1.2, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, they've almost had a double in their salaries. For example, a cleaner or a driver who was earning $3,000, $3,500 last month, this month they earn almost $7,000. That is what we should be talking about, that change, because the president believes that the cost of living price crisis has seriously impacted people's livelihoods and also people's way of living. So he believes that this has to be done to cushion the impact of the cost of living crisis. I think this should be celebrated. The first government in the history of this country who has done 3 salary increments consecutively, 2017, 2019, 2020, and now 2024. And this one is almost 100% for some levels. And remember, ministers are not included. Certain civil servants, like those in the diplomatic service, are not included in the increment. All this to ensure that we create a system which is equitable. Because we've seen that even those in subvented institutions like in our social security are not even included. This is the core civil service. Those are the lower end of the spectrum. And the focus was made ensure that we focus on those from grade 1 to grade 5 to have almost double their salaries. Currently, as we speak, the lowest paid in this country is not less than $7,000.
Okay, government definitely deserves to be commended, but this is just a tiny, part of the population. The greater majority of the population are still struggling, with this cost of living. What will the government do for those people who don't have work in the civil service?
Well, what the government has done is to create an enabling environment.
What's enabling environment?
And promote a pro-growth economy. And that is what is happening. The private sector is booming. Jobs have been created. Self-employment opportunities are there.
Where have jobs been created? In what sectors?
In fintech,
per se.
In fintech, a lot of young people has been provided training in agriculture. A lot of matching grants have been given to the Giraffe project. A lot of with the women empowerment.
Yeah, but training does not translate into jobs.
Yeah, but it should. It should. I mean, not only for you to be employed, for you to be self-employed. That is why we train you. There are a lot of young people today who are self-employed and they're doing very well. They create their own companies. You know how many?
Can you cite examples?
You know how many SMEs we have created in this country in the past 3-4 years?
What?
It's in the hundreds, almost over 100,000 small
Just cite two for me. Just name two for me.
In terms of what?
Yeah, SMEs that have been created in the past, whatever.
I mean, I cannot go into the specifics. I mean, it's a lot, so I don't know exactly. But I know that.
Yeah, then people will say he's just talking.
No, I'm not. No, I mean, people live in this country. People see. We've seen that the economy is growing.
And SMEs are being created.
SMEs
according to your hundreds.
Young people have been trained in solar installations. Young people have been trained in, for example, FATFAT. Let's look at FATFAT. FATFAT is doing well. It's a logistic delivery service. It's due to because of this kind of and we've created for young people to train, and you have the startup incubator helping young people to start up their own businesses. That's why FATFAT started. They incubate you, they help you start your business. And not only FATFAT, a lot of young people are into content development, are into coding. A lot of young people are doing well in this country. Now, clearly there are jobs. What is the problem with Gambia? There's a mismatch between skills needed and the jobs available. And people, not everybody can, should go to university. Currently, there's a gap in terms of certain skills, certain jobs like plumbers, carpenters. Some of these skills we clearly struggling to get those ones. So I think what we need is to reorient our education system, and that is why the government is building a lot of TVET.
Exactly. I was going to say, isn't that what TVET
that's what I'm saying.
Is supposed to address?
I've argued here that education policy is long term. You see, when you start building TVET institutions today, you don't see the benefits today. It takes 3, 4, 5 years down the line for you to reap the benefits. Some of the failures what we are seeing in the system today are inherited, because the previous government did not come up with policies that promote skills building in this country. And we've realized that gap through assessments, through the skills gap assessment. We've seen this is the problem. That is why we are building TVET training centers, not only in the Commerce, but also in all across the country, so young people can go and learn the skills to get the job. So for me, what the evidence tells us is that there are jobs, but the skill sets needed to fill those jobs are not what is available. And that is a problem. That mismatch is what is happening. And that is what the government is aware of. That is why we're building skill training centers. We are sending young people away. We are giving them scholarships. Currently, we are giving almost 600 scholarships in skills training, almost 2,400 scholarships at UTG, to ensure young people they have the right skills and the right competence to be able to get the jobs. But again, like I said, governments don't provide jobs. If you look at, we're talking about a lean government. Most countries have a lean government. It's very difficult even in countries meet a civil servant because they have a lean government. What you do is to get a big private sector that employs people who employ them. That is what this government is doing.
You talk about a lean government. One of the criticisms leveled against this particular government is it's expanding all the time.
How is it expanding?
New ministerial positions being created every now and again. Now we have, for instance, the ATI Commission, not only stopping at, every ministry having a communication officer, but now every ministry is now required to have an assistant communication officer.
But these are not new recruitments. These are existing people who work in the ministry who are designated as communication officers. It's not like we are bringing new recruitments into the civil service. No. It's like the PS, who's the communication officer, or anybody he designates in that office. So we're not recruiting new. Now, most of the ATI and some of these institutions, because of necessity. these are strategic institutions that need to exist to serve the public. Government is here to serve the public, and government will do anything to serve the public. Now, yes, we talk about lean government, but when it's necessitated by the fact that it needs to serve the public, for example, the ATI, everybody has been crying aloud that information is a problem, and information is by constitution and by all international instruments, it's a human right. So if we create institutions that give the public the information they need to make informed choices, to hold government accountable and to make government more transparent so they can make informed choices at the ballot box, I think these are institutions that must be lauded. It's not like government is expanding government just because they want to create jobs or because they want to waste money. No, this government is one of the most prudent, financially prudent, fiscally prudent government.
Seriously?
Of course, yes. One of the most fiscally prudent governments.
Every audit, activity undertaken by the National Audit Office uncovers discrepancies in every sector of government, and you still call it the most prudent?
Let me tell you something. You see, because audits never took place in the Gambia before, or they were never known under Jame. Those audits are most of these audits are backed.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I will challenge you on this one.
What I'm saying is that when did you ever hear?
Jame did not have to contend with COVID. I mean, the most rotten findings during that COVID period.
The system.
That is Adama Barrow, not the system, Jame or Jawara.
The rotten system was inherited. There are flaws in the system in terms of accounting. And for me, audit reports, like I said, and that's what audit reports are not, doesn't mean that...
we know they're just opinions.
They are opinions, and based on, for example, if you come to audit me today, for example, and auditors just look for paper trails. That's what they look for. And they see that, okay, $400 was spent, but there is no paper to show that it was spent. They'll flag it. But it means
and rightly so.
That's
and
what I'm
rightly
saying.
so.
But it doesn't mean that is the case. That is why, if they suspect that fraud has taken place, they pass it on to the police for investigation. Investigations can come and reveal whether fraud has taken place or not. So sometimes this audit report doesn't always mean that whatever the auditors say is that there's always fraud or there is always financial malpractice in the system. We need to be cautious how we deal with these audit reports. I mean, for audits, the president believes in the audit reports. That is why he strengthens and supports the National Audit Office. We give them all the support, all the latitude they need to do their job. But what I'm also saying, we need to be cautious how we also approach these audit reports, because even today, if you are audited here, auditors will flag some malpractice, some spendings that cannot be accounted for because you are not there to defend yourself. Yeah, they wouldn't see paper, and they'll come with a report to say, well, we found that Peter Gomez spent $400 to buy donuts, but that is for guests, but that is to portray. And people go around and Peter Gomez stole our donuts. It doesn't work like that. We need to be very cautious.
I'm glad you said donuts for guests, because I don't like sugary,
Yes, exactly. In fact, I about to bring my coffee. I didn't even see it when they brought it. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to be cautious how we approach these audit reports. Yes, they are doing a fantastic job, but their reports are not always conclusive. That is why there are layers. Constitution is very clear. When auditors think that financial malpractices or fraud has taken place, to ascertain that, they give it to the competent body to do investigation, which is the police, to investigate. And the police can either, if the police ascertain that yes, it is confirmed that fraud has taken place, they pass it on to the Attorney General for prosecution. Otherwise, they drop the case. So audit reports are not in themselves evidence that corruption has taken place.
Mm-hmm. You've not been on the program for 2 weeks, so you deserve at least an hour today to make up for lost time. But I have to make this, my final question. You weren't here when the brouhaha over the audio released by Barrow's predecessor, threatening, Barrow's position came out, Yaya Jammeh, that is. I mean, I don't know whether you listened to the audio or you read things said about what was said in the audio. How do you react to Yaya Jammeh enjoying the freedom of sitting, in a third country, run away from justice and just threatening a constitutionally elected president and government?
Well, that shows how low he can go. I mean, if a former president can go that low, then there's a problem. For me, we're not focusing on the pettiness of that audio. What we are focusing on is the bigger picture. That is, Jammeh will be tried, and then all that is required to do that is being put in place. ECOWAS has recently endorsed for that to happen. That is what the Gambia government is focused on, the bigger picture, that Jammeh must face justice. That is what we are focusing on. Now, we don't go down to pettiness. That is why, if you observe, the government did not even respond to that audio, because we don't respond to pettiness.
Well, Barrow did.
No. What I'm saying is that the government, as a government, we did not respond to the audio.
The government is bigger than Barrow now?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there was no a formal response from the government. There was no formal response responding.
And I'm telling you that Barrow responded.
Well, I didn't hear that. Maybe I missed that. I didn't hear the response.
Yeah. Through his spokesman, Sankare, a man you know very well.
Okay. I missed that. What I'm saying is that there was no formal written response in response to...
Yeah, because you were away. If you were here, you probably would have drafted the response.
But I could draft the response from anywhere. What I'm saying is that the government is looking at the bigger picture. And we are focusing on the bigger task of bringing Jammeh to justice. That is what we are focusing on. Anything else is not important for the government.
Dr. Ceesay, we missed you. Thanks for coming back, and I'll see you next week, God willing. That's Dr. Ismaila Ceesay.
In a world where progress never sleeps, one company stands out as the driving force behind infrastructure and energy solutions. Introducing our fuel company and cement producer, where excellence meets efficiency. Jar Oil. The company have 30 filling stations across the country that are all operating, which includes the recently completed Yarambamba and Old Yundum filling stations. And our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Along the years, Jar Oil introduces importation and distribution of cement in their line of business to diversify and strengthen their operations. Are you a cement retailer? At the moment, Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market. With a focus on sustainability and innovation, we are paving the way for a greener, stronger future. Trust in us to fuel your projects and lay the groundwork for success. We currently produce over 25,200,000 bags per year. As the largest cement producer in the country, Jar Oil also targets to export cement to the neighboring countries like Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, and others. Join us on our journey to shape a world where every drop of fuel and every bag of cement makes a difference. Together, we can build a brighter tomorrow.